your drive. It kind of works for every club in the bag. So my students love a process. They love to be able to kind of start from a simple basis and build something that is repeatable over and over again, and this really does that. So let me start by, first of all, looking at what the trail arm does in your golf swing. When you're swinging through, what we're doing is we are creating a circle around the body here at roughly a 45-degree angle. So as I swing the club back here, my trail arm is helping to form this 45-degree angle here. It works back to the golf ball here and then works back up on, again, on a roughly 45-degree angle. Now, knowing that and picturing that is the first stage, okay? This is the first stage. Once you've got the picture of this beautiful 45-degree circle, the next stage is always to start, I like to say, with the end in mind. So what I love my students to do is get a sense of what they're supposed to be doing at the moment or through the moment of impact. What is the strike supposed to feel like? And then we work back from there. So for that, I'm going to get Leo in. So Leo, do you want to jump in for a second? This is my videographer. He's going to help me out with this little plan. So if you stand there, Leo, just to the side, that's it, fantastic. Now, this is the sense I want you to kind of feel. A lot of times when people are struggling with consistency of strike and distance is they are literally doing this. You are throwing the club at the golf ball here, just with your hands and your arms. The best players, they use their entire right side, or in my term, trail side, if you're a left-hander, through the shot. So what I'm going to do here is this. If I was to throw my hand at here, I've got a certain amount of power. But watch what happens when I do this. Notice where my elbow is. My elbow's out here, now it's in. But watch what happens here. Watch my right side. Now I'm pushing my entire right side through. This is giving me extra power through the shot and control. Cheers, Leah.
That's right.
Fantastic. Just as a great video. So imagine against the wall here, and what you're going to do is you're going to feel what impact's like. So if I put a club down with an iron, we want to strike the ball, then the turf. So the angle of the shaft is slightly further forward, and notice here we've got an angle in this kind of trail wrist here, my right wrist. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to push, look, this through, and I'm continuing the circle with what? Not just my arm, but my entire right side, look, is turning through that shot. This is giving me stability and it's giving me power. Super, super important. So this is what I do with my students first of all, is give you a sense of what you're supposed to do for impact. Start there. Now, you could, if you wanted, you could actually just hit some shots from there. You could take that motion there, and what I love my students to do at the start is to really push, really feel like this trail hand is pushing almost down on the shaft here, and it's getting ready to do what? Push through impact. Push through impact, not flick through impact. So you start with that initially. Maybe you just hit a few shots, kind of feeling that motion before we start to go into the second part of this process. So you'll notice on that shot that my backswing was pretty short and it was a much shorter swing, which kind of builds into how we develop this for you going forward for your irons and your driver. Now, ask yourself this. If I want my trail side to feel like it's rotating and really feel like the power's coming through here, it's not just kind of wishy-washy and flicky, what do you think your right side here, your trail side, has to do in the backswing? Have a think about it. If I want to rotate it powerfully through impact, what does this trail side, the entire trail side, need to do? Well, it needs to, what? It needs to rotate, doesn't it? It needs to move, this trail shoulder, this trail hip needs to move back to help you create this 45-degree circle, but also load the power. So now look, you can what? You can turn it straight back down on that golf ball. So this is super, super important, is to imagine your trail side. If you can feel this motion here, this rotation, if you didn't have any rotation on the way back, which I see with so many people who slice, they don't have any rotation, they pick the club up and then they have lots of this right side. Now they come across the ball and slice it and top it, you name it. But if you take this trail side, rotate it back, just unlock it all here, rotate it back on this 45-degree, help you create this 45-degree circle, now you're really ready to go. But there's one piece here which I'm missing, and this is, as you're doing this, what I would love for you to do is remember this is a circle. I want you to imagine your trail arm. This worked amazingly for Laura the other day, one of my students. So ultimately, I want you to imagine you've got this arm, it's just sitting there beautifully, right? I want this trail arm to remain fairly straight, not rod straight, but fairly straight here. Why? Because most of the time I'm seeing with golfers, this has been overly flexed here, and now you've ruined this entire circle. Now this has been overly flexed here, and now you've ruined this entire circle. Now this has been overly flexed here, and now you've ruined this entire circle. Now from here you've got no way of hitting the golf ball. Just imagine you're keeping it out here. You're going to create this beautiful circle look. The entire golf swing is almost created, look, with the trail arm going back and going through. That's all I want you to do. So you're unlocking this trail side, but you're also simultaneously keeping this trail arm here soft, yes, but you're going to feel like it's fairly straight, and that means that the swing's going to feel very, very short. And all you're doing now is rotating back to the golf ball here, and then look, you just keep pushing that trail arm on the arc through the impact area here. So it keeps it really, really, really simple. Okay, let's start with that. Then we'll go on to drive and see what you do with the driver. So we get ourselves set, we feel the pressure here, what we're trying to do through impact. We might even rehearse this pushing through on the arc. And then all I'm going to do here is again, I'm going to imagine almost like I want to imagine my club's only going to go to 9, my right arm's only going to go to 9 o'clock. In reality, I know it will go a bit further. It does with everybody. I know everyone has some flex even when they try this, but because there's so much like this is just a wonderful feeling. So no matter what it feels like, you're probably going to feel like it's rod straight, but the reality is it will always bend. Okay, so just picture that motion now. Right side working back onto the golf ball, and we're going to create a very, very simple circle, just like that. That is absolutely ripped. Okay, so let's now see how this works with driver. So I said, didn't I, that this works with driver and you don't have to change very much, and that is exactly it. So with driver, the ball position is now much, much more forward. So as opposed to getting a complete downforce on that golf ball, we're now catching the ball a little bit later, but we still want to have this entire trail side pushing look through that shot on the arc, creating the other side of this 45-degree circle. It's just that the ball is a bit further forward. And one thing I didn't add with the irons, which I certainly is really, really important, is that when you are keeping this trail arm what feels like fairly straight, so you're creating the beautiful circle here, watch out for a really big mistake. Initially, when I was giving Laura this, she was kind of keeping the right arm almost look facing downwards. Where's my elbow here? It's almost outwards. So she was kind of trying to do it like this. Now the thing is you've got to imagine that this circle works on a 45-degree angle. So as it does that, what does my trail side all do? It's rotating. Where's my elbow? It starts here and it's still almost pointing, look, down towards the ground. Why? Because it's working on this arc. Very, very important. Okay. So we drive it, imagine the same thing. Look at this here. If I get myself set, I'm going to imagine this trail side here just pushing, feeling that pressure. I want this type of strike. And then from here, if I did a mini rehearsal, I want to imagine this right side pushing through the shot. I don't want this. I don't want the body. I don't be trying to do this either. I want the whole right side of my body turning down through that shot. Okay. So let's have a look at this in action. So we driver. Imagine that trail arm fading, almost swinging to 9 o'clock here. But I know it's going to go further, feel like it's pushing outwards there, and then I'm going to create that circle from the right side here. I'm going to turn that right side and the club face straight look down onto that golf ball. Absolute belter. So this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to look after, feel the impact first. Stage number one, feel it. Feel the right side putting pressure on that golf ball. Create the circle with the trail arm here. Literally start to create that circle, working around. Start off feeling like it's actually straight, yeah? It's working on a straight line. We're not letting it flex too much. Everybody flexes it too much. Put yourself on camera, and my bet is that you're pulling it behind here, you're flexing too much here. Really keep that width. And for me, one of the things that, the feedback I got from my students was, if I'm here, I really feel powerful. I can really keep that width. And for me, one of the things that, the feedback I got from my students was, if I'm here, I really feel powerful. I can really keep that width. And for me, one of the things that, the feedback I got from my students was, if I'm here, I really feel powerful. I can feel my my right lat inside here. I can feel my right leg wanting to push in here. Well, if you think about it, I just kind of want to get back there. So if I start to let this go all over the place, that's hard. But if I was to now keep that and go, I've still got that powerful position. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to keep that powerful and turn it, look, down towards that golf ball. But if I let this start to drift and move around, that's going to be super difficult for you, okay? So I hope you love this as much as my students do. Like I say, it works for your irons, it works for your drive, it works for your fairwoods. Give it a go out, share it with somebody who you think is going to need some help with their distance and ball striking. I know ultimately was unbelievably inconsistent. He tried all the golf tips that I'm sure you can imagine, but nothing was giving him any effortless power, wasn't giving any consistency. And as soon as I looked at his golf swing, I saw immediately what was the problem, and I see this a lot. He was completely unsure about how to move this right arm, this trail arm in the golf swing. He would basically move it in almost quite a stiff and wooden manner. This would cause loads of problems in the back. So he'd pull it around the corner here, and then he would throw his body at it through the impact area. It was incredibly inconsistent. Now, you might not do specifically that, but what I see is most problems in a golfer's swing stem from this position of the right arm at the start of the swing, but also during the swing. They don't know how to fold it on the way back, and they're really, really important. Unfold it on the way through. In this video, I want to share with you the drill that I gave Richard, because once we've done it, it really simplified his golf swing to such a degree that gave him so much more consistency. More importantly, he can take it to the golf course. So today what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to play a little hole. I want you to join me to play a hole with me, and we're going to start on the tee, show you how it works with driver, show the subtle difference. Very simple. So a lot of players, like I say, are incredibly inconsistent. Richards was definitely one of those, where you have very basic, lots of different loops in the swing. Some people going here and then come over. Some people lift the arms up and move it in here. There's a whole array of that. I want to kind of simplify the whole lot for you. So all I did with Richard was simply this. I taught him how the right arm is supposed to move in the golf swing. If the right arm moves correctly, we can create a simple arc on the way back. We can bring it beautifully back down on the way through, look, and it's just repeatable time and time again. To do that, we need to make sure that we understand how to set up, right? So when we're setting up to the ball, your right arm has got to be in a position to fold correctly, right? So I want you to imagine this. If your right arm, which I see a lot of the time, is bent this way, it's very, very hard, look, to fold it, right? If I just soften it like this, I can now, look, naturally fold the right arm beautifully. It's just basically folding really naturally on the way back. Now, all I do to do this, and this is important, is I just turn it inwards. So this section here, look, is facing you. And then this is also important, I just turn my hand, look, to face the target, because this is how I hit the ball straight. I don't want the hand facing in that direction, because that's going to get more likely a path to go to the right. And I don't want my hand on top of the club, because that's going to get my path going to the left. So I simply turn this to face you. That gives it ability to fold, and make sure my hand goes on the golf club facing the target. Simple as that, isn't it, right? Now from here, all I did with Richard here was he was instantly wanted to do this, keep it really wooden and stiff and under control. I said, no, just relax it. Let it naturally, look, fold backwards, almost like I'm just doing a bicep curl over my trail shoulder. So I'm allowing it to fold. And what do you notice here? It's just following a beautiful arc up to the top of the swing. So we've got set up. We're allowing this natural folding of the trail arm on the way back. And then the one thing I would say once you've done that, which I would say is probably one of the faults I see a lot with players, is what do you do? How do you start that downswing? Well, when you're coming down, most people, they don't not just let it unfold. What they do is they throw the club. They try to turn towards their target. I said to Richard, I don't want any form of turn at all. Get rid of turn. Never turn on the way through. I'll show you what I mean by that. All we do is let this naturally fold, and as I'm coming down, I'm unfolding it like this. I'm unfolding it until, look, it naturally falls back down to the golf ball. And as you do this, if you do this with momentum, here, look, it will naturally drag you through into the turn. What I don't want is what most people are doing, which is driving and pulling the club around there, getting it over the top, or the better players would pull and get it stuck underneath. All I want you to do is fold the right arm up like a bicep curl on the way up, and let it unfold and look at this. I'm almost like the club's falling with gravity. I'm almost throwing the club, look, down here, and then look back into the golf ball. This helps you trace, look, this beautiful downward motion into that golf ball time and time again. So I promised we'd play a little hole and just play this hole and show you how this applies to all your shots going down. Now, I got a wonderful process from one of my mentors, Graham Walker, and he calls it the 3 C's. So correct, comfortable, confident. This is how I want you to approach your shots on a golf course. So how do you do this correct? Well, we make sure, first of all, we stand away from the golf ball. We get in position and we take our time look and we get this correct with a simple rehearsal. Then what we do, we shuffle a bit closer to the golf ball and we start to make that feel comfortable. So I'm now adding some rhythm to that motion. Then what I do is I go to the golf ball. I don't waste any time. I've got myself set. And that's just absolutely effortless, right? So data from ShotScope shows us that if you can hit the ball just a little bit further, you will naturally lower your handicap, because what we found is that data shows us that it doesn't matter what your handicap is, everyone hits roughly the same amount of fairways, but if you can gain effortless yards, this will make a big difference. Let's go and play that second shot. So I've got 197 to the middle of the green, 185 to the front, and the flag is on the front edge of that green. So what I've done is I've got a 6-iron, so it's the second shot of the day. So, but how do I apply this trail arm or this right arm to an iron shot? Unbelievably, almost exactly the same thing. However, just remember when you're doing this, when this is folding up here and it comes down, exactly the same thing. However, just remember when you're doing this, when this is folding up here and it comes down, exactly the same thing. However, just remember when you're doing this, when this is folding up here and it comes down, never turn. Just trust that ultimately the turn is going to happen. And why it's important, even more so with your irons, is we want to strike the ball in the ground. A lot of time people, they get to the top of the backswing and they start turning and they're all their weight still on their right leg. That spins them behind the golf ball, they fat it, thin it, you name it. That spins them behind the golf ball, they fat it, thin it, you name it. That spins them behind the golf ball, they fat it, thin it, you name it. By ultimately here, just in a sense, staying this way, just not turning, it allows your weight naturally to kind of move towards that golf ball whilst this naturally unfolds like this. Now what this does is it gets you to strike the ball, then by ultimately here, just in a sense, staying this way, just not turning, it allows your weight naturally to kind of move towards that golf ball whilst this naturally unfolds like this. Now what this does is it gets you to strike the ball, then by ultimately here, just in a sense, staying this way, just not turning, it allows your weight naturally to kind of move towards that golf ball whilst this naturally unfolds like this. Now what this does is it gets you to strike the ball, then the ground. You can see here, if I rotate, I'm going to spin out and hit the ground potentially behind the golf ball. Simple as that. So just get to the top, allow this to naturally unfold like this, back down to the golf ball here, look, and hey presto, that is how we're going to get that repeatable swing. So let's go back to the 3 C's. So we got to get it correct. So I'll do a little rehearsal. My rehearsal might be as simple as this. Out in front of me here, feel the trail arm, folding, unfolding, folding, unfolding. And then look, I move a little bit closer, just get the rhythm with that. Don't waste too much time. And away we go. A little left side of the green, I think. But let's go and find out. So as you can see, look, I've just missed the green short and left, which gives me a great opportunity to show you how the right arm, your trail arm, can actually help your chipping too. So chipping should be pretty straightforward, but we make it complicated when this arm gets into kind of strange positions. So soften it here, let it just soften into your body here. Now from here, all you're gonna do is you're gonna keep it connected all the way back and all the way through. We're not gonna kind of disconnect it here. We're not going to drive the handle here. We're not going to start flicking like this. We just keep it connected. Here, let it just soften into your body here. Now from here, all you're going to do is you're going to keep it connected all the way back and all the way through. We're not going to kind of disconnect it here. We're not going to drive the handle here. We're not going to start flicking like this. We just keep it connected. So we then go to the 3 C's, what Graham was talking about, which is correct, comfortable, confident. So we're going to get correct first. Trail arm is in there. I'm going to make a swing. And now what I'm doing, look, I'm letting the club just fall. I am not driving it. I am not turning. I'm allowing it to fall to the ground. Yeah. Fall to the ground. Yeah. Fall to the ground, yeah? I'm connected, feel that motion. Then I get a rhythm with it to make that feel comfortable, yeah? Then I get to the golf ball. Now look, it's this, I'm getting into the target now, looking at my flag. I'm gonna try and hold this for eagle. Get myself set, make it feel comfortable. Not too bad, not too bad. So it makes sense, so follow this simple process. Trail arm controls what you do in that backswing. It also makes everything start to feel